Mel Kiper is maybe the biggest name in NFL draft media, and he just released his mock draft 4.0, his first mock draft since all of the big trades that happened with Sam Darnold going to Carolina and the draft picks with Miami and San Francisco and the Eagles. It's also his first mock draft where he goes past the first round. He goes picks 1 through 64. And in this video, I'm going to go over those picks, react to them, let you guys know what I think about some of the players, some of the teams, some of the picks that he made, and react to this mock draft before we get into some of our mock drafts later down the line on this channel. Before we get into it, please consider hitting that subscribe button, also smashing that like button, and leaving a comment letting me know what you thought of Mel Kiper's mock draft. Also, we have a podcast, and you can find all of our different social media links down in the description. The podcast, if you want to see more of the breaking news aspects of the NFL or college football, here are our opinions, and we can go a little bit deeper into some topics. That's the best place to watch it. We on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, also here on YouTube. You can find anything you need down in the description. You can also find our website there, or anything if you want to contact us on social media. Go follow our Instagram. Actually, we have a giveaway going on our Instagram right now. That's really important. Go if you want a chance to win a signed jersey, not a signed jersey. If you want to win a jersey of your choice, go down to our Instagram and enter our giveaway. Read the caption for the picture. There's a couple things you need to do, and then we're going to pick at the end of this week, see who wins a jersey of their choice, player of their choice. You don't want to miss that on our Instagram. But anyways, Mel Kiper, mock draft 4.0. Let's get right into it. So I pulled the mock up right here on my iPad next to me. First pick, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, slam dunk pick. Everyone's expecting that right now. I've been expecting it since he showed up as a freshman. He was going to be the first pick in the NFL draft. Jaguars, good move. Zach Wilson also to the Jets. As a Jets fan, it's what I want. It's also, I think, what a lot of people think is the best pick. And I think it's kind of becoming obvious that's what the Jets are going to do. I mean, you see the people trying to trade up to pick 2 and the Jets won't do it. It's because they want Zach Wilson. I think everyone knows Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson at 1 and 2. But after the Niners traded up to pick 3, that's kind of where the draft starts. In the last couple of years, that's kind of where the draft has started, is at pick 3 is where things start to get a little bit interesting. And he actually has the Niners going with Mac Jones, the quarterback from Alabama. And, you know, there's been a lot of stuff going around that this might be the pick. And I believe that it could happen. I would not be super happy if that happened. I'm not a Niners fan or anything, but I just think that's kind of a waste of that big trade that they made to go up to. If you want to hear our opinions on the trade, go check out that podcast, our last episode. We actually talked about this. I'll link it up here too. But I just don't think that Mac Jones is worth it at pick 3 in normal, but also trading up so much to get to pick 3 to take Mac Jones just doesn't make very much sense for me at all. I don't understand why they would give up that many picks to take Mac Jones, who obviously isn't even a huge upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo. Plus them saying that they're going to keep Jimmy Garoppolo for this year, and then to take the most pro-ready quarterback on the board there compared with Justin Fields and Trey Lance just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I understand there's buzz about it. I'm not doubting that it could happen. Maybe that's what Shanahan wants, and maybe he just wants to get his guy. It's just it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I personally would go Justin Fields here. And I think in this draft, we'll see Justin Fields a little bit later going to a team that you probably wouldn't think would draft him. But moving on, another part of this mock that this is kind of the one thing I saw, the last thing I saw, he has Miami trading up with the Falcons. And so Miami traded down from pick 3, and they got to pick 12. And they traded back up from 12 to pick 6. Now he has them trading up again to pick 4. I don't get it. Why wouldn't they trade up from 12 to 4? Like, I just don't think they're going to trade up again. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. He doesn't think it'll cost them a first-round pick in 2022. So take something like a second or a third-round pick. I mean, that's a fair trade, and I think that's maybe a good move for the Falcons. I've said that the Falcons should look to trade back if they don't want a quarterback, and if they don't want to take a Justin Fields here, sure, trade back, get one of the corners later on, get someone else on defense because that's kind of where they need it if they don't want a quarterback. And so I understand them trading down, but Miami isn't going to trade up again. And let's see, they trade up for Kyle Pitts from Florida. Now, Kyle Pitts is a great player. I don't normally agree with taking a tight end high in the first round or in the first round at all, but Kyle Pitts is kind of a different style of player. He's more of a receiver, not a tight end. And so I understand this pick, but I really don't think it's worth the trade up from 6 to 4. I mean, there's a chance Kyle Pitts is there at 6, but if he's not, then you're either going to take Sewell or Chase. And I feel like those guys are just as good of a prospect as Pitts. Like Pitts maybe a little bit better, but is it really worth trading that second, third round pick to get all the way up to pick 4 just from pick 6? It just doesn't make sense to me. And with them already trading up to pick 4, I just don't personally get it. Moving on to the Bengals, they take Penei Sewell, and this is what I would do at this pick. I would take Penei Sewell, but Joe Burrow has been like pleading with the Bengals to take Jamar Chase. So I'm honestly thinking that they might lean in that direction, but they need offensive line. I think it's a good move. It's what I would do, but I'm honestly starting to think that the Bengals are going to not take Sewell or Slater on the first round, and I think they'll actually end up going for Jamar Chase if he's on the board, or even Kyle Pitts, because I think that's kind of what Joe Burrow wants. I hope that for his sake, though, they do not listen to him and they take an offensive lineman because they really need it. Moving on, the Falcons, so they trade down from 6 to take Trey Lance. I understand they're trading down, but also they could trade out even further if they wanted Trey Lance. Like I don't think personally that Trey Lance is better than Justin Fields. I would go with Justin Fields here. And if the Falcons are going for a quarterback and they're not going to take one at 4 and they're going to take one at 6 and Justin Fields is available, like that's a slam dunk move right there, especially because he's from Georgia and like a hometown, bring him back. I just think Justin Fields is a better prospect than Trey Lance. I don't think Trey Lance would succeed too well in the Falcons offense. I think Justin Fields would be far better in that offense and in that role, unless the Falcons were going to switch the offense around for Trey Lance. That's kind of the narrative I've been pushing most of the time. But this pick, yeah, it just doesn't make too much sense for me. I don't think Trey Lance should go ahead of Justin Fields at all. And I really think to Atlanta, it makes way more sense for them to take Justin Fields. But the Detroit Lions are going to go with Jamar Chase. Perfect pick. I think Devonta Smith is the number 1 wide receiver in this class, but a lot of people have Jamar Chase. So I understand. I think Kiper definitely has Chase at 1 on his board. So him going there to Detroit, I think Detroit needs that kind of stand-in after losing Kenny Golladay. So it makes sense that they're going with Jamar Chase here. I feel like he can replace Golladay. They also lost Marvin Jones too. So he'll instantly become the number 1 wide receiver in this class or on this team. And while I think that, Devonta Smith is the best wide receiver in this class, a lot of people have Jamar Chase. It's neck and neck on a lot of people's boards. So I understand this one. And then you see Devonta Smith go right here to the Carolina Panthers. After Sam Darnold is traded to the Panthers, he gets a weapon, a third weapon. He's going to have Devonta Smith, Robbie Anderson, and DJ Moore on his team. That's just an excellent bunch of wide receivers. So 2 good picks right there. I think the Panthers may opt to go for Rashawn Slater in this scenario. I feel like the people that they're targeting, if they're not going to take a quarterback, like I wouldn't be surprised if they took Justin Fields here, but if they're sticking with Sam Darnold and they don't want to take a quarterback, I think their ranking would probably go Pitts, Sewell if he falls, and then Chase or Smith. So this makes sense. I think Slater could be a possibility if they want to go lineman, but Devonta Smith, good pick here at pick 8. He has Micah Parsons going at 9. I understand it, but not really to the Broncos. I mean, I really think that the Broncos would easily go with Justin Fields in this scenario, and they should. I mean, they really should. And you're going to see Justin Fields goes right here. New England trades up with Dallas to take Justin Fields. I think the trend makes sense. The New England's been going in all offseason, getting weapons, getting good players. And so I think it makes sense that they trade up for Justin Fields if he's there at pick 10. Only if he's there at pick 10. Like if one of the top 5 quarterbacks falls there, I think that makes a lot of sense. 2022 first round pick might be a little bit of an overtrade if the Dolphins didn't have to give up a first rounder to go from 6 to 4. Then why are the Patriots giving up a first rounder to go from 15 to 10? So it's a good pick. Maybe his trade is a little bit off. I don't know what they'd give up. But it's a good pick. Justin Fields maybe sits for a little bit behind Cam Newton. Maybe he competes with Cam Newton for the job. Either way, good trade, good pick. I like Justin Fields and his fit in this new New England offense. Here's the Giants going Jalen Waddle. I totally agree. I think Jalen Waddle is probably the top guy on a lot of Giants fans' draft board, so they get off with the pick they want. Philadelphia Eagles go Patrick Surtain. I think that's a good move too. I think he's the number 1 corner in this class, and Philly desperately needs corner. And I think it's a great pick. They trade down from pick 6. A lot of people wanted Jamar Chase for them. But cornerback is also one of their biggest needs. Maybe Micah Parsons goes here if he's not drafted by Denver earlier. But I think Patrick Surtain is a great pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's got Rashawn Slater going to the Chargers. Dream pick for them. Most people didn't think that Rashawn Slater would fall this far if he falls all the way to 13. A lot of people thought Darisaw would go here, maybe Elijah Vera Tucker. But Slater, perfect pick. He play tackle or guard for them. Just an excellent pick for the Chargers. Darisaw goes right here for the Vikings. Great pick, taking over at the tackle position for the Vikings. Tremendous pick for them. I think good value on the board. A lot of people have Elijah Vera Tucker to them because Slater and Darisaw went earlier. So their ability to land a sliding offensive linemen in this class. I think it's a good move. Dallas trades down to 15. They get J.C. Horn. Uh, it's an interesting pick. I think you might rather. I'm trying to figure out like what's better. Is it trading down and getting another first round pick and getting Horn instead of Surtain, or taking Surtain and not having the trade? And I feel like, for Dallas, it's probably the better move to trade down. J.C. Horn, I had as my third ranked corner in the class, but after Farley's issues with his back, I may be moving Horn up to 2. They're really close now. So it's a good trade down, I think, trading down 5 spots, getting a corner and picking up that first round pick that they can use. You also just don't know how good the Patriots are going to be. So it could be a middle of the pack, could be, a late first round, or could be an early first round. You never know. But anytime you can pick up a first round or trade down and get a player that's still of the same caliber as the one you're going to take at your pick, it's a good move. Caleb Farley, who I just mentioned, goes here to Arizona Cardinals. If he lives up to his potential, the Cardinals make off like thieves in this draft, and that might be like one of the best picks of the draft already if he can reach his potential. I made a video comparing him and Patrick Surtain that I'll link up here. I thought Farley is just a great cornerback talent with a lot of potential because of athleticism. I think he can work on some stuff technically, and obviously he has the back injury, which happened after I made that video. But I think he would be a good fit in this defense, and I think that taking him at pick 16 is a great move for the Cardinals. Able to get a sliding Caleb Farley, who without the injury is easily a top 10 pick in this draft. But I've been talking for 16 straight picks. It's time for me to go water break, and then we'll get into the second 30 or the second 16. Okay, here we go. He has the Raiders taking Elijah Vera Tucker, USC fan. I've watched Elijah Vera Tucker for a couple years. I think he's honestly underrated just because he plays the guard position. I mean, if you take out positional value, he's I think he's easily top 12, 13 player in this draft class. But he's a guard, and I think that after the decimation that they did to their offensive line, this is a good move here at pick 17. Kwity Paye to the Dolphins, first edge rusher off the board. I'm not the biggest Kwity Paye fan. I think that he has all the stuff you want to see on tape, but he just doesn't have the production. And I understand that stats aren't everything, but Kwity Paye just had no production, like no sacks, he really did not have the production that would warrant taking him at 18. I know stats aren't everything, but they have to be a little bit of something. And he's got it on tape, and maybe Brian Flores will be able to get it out of him. But I feel like he would succeed best alongside someone else, and the Dolphins don't really have that other pass rusher. Like, he needs another edge rusher on the other side so that teams can't just double team him because he's got the technique, but he doesn't have the production. And I think that it's because he had to kind of fight for himself at Michigan, so he'd benefit more from playing alongside somebody else. And yeah, Ogba's okay, but I don't think Kwity Paye is worthy of a top 18 pick if it's going to a team like the Dolphins. I just don't think he would have a ton of success there. So, maybe Ryan Flores can get it out of him, but I don't know. I digress. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, my top linebacker in this draft class, going to Washington football team. I said that they're kind of one defensive superstar away, kind of not in the front, not in the defensive line, but either a corner or a linebacker or a safety. They're one of those away from just being an absolutely elite defense. And I think that Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is definitely that, and he'll bring them that superstar playmaking ability. Tevin Jenkins, one of my favorite players in this draft class, an absolute mauler at the tackle position, goes 20 to the Chicago Bears. They don't get a quarterback in this draft class, but I think Tevin Jenkins, pretty good consolation prize. They get him at pick 20. Jalen Phillips, I think without injury is the top edge in this class, but with all the concussions that he's had and all that, slides down the board a little bit. But 21, good for the Colts. They needed a defensive end to take over for an aging Justin Houston to go alongside DeForest Buckner. I think Jalen Phillips is a good fit. They don't go offensive tackle, but maybe they'll go offensive tackle in the second round. Elijah Moore to the Tennessee Titans. I don't understand Elijah Moore over a guy like Rashad Bateman. I don't think he's better than Kadarius Toney. So I feel like it might be an overdraft for, he's still a good player, but it might be an overdraft for Elijah Moore. And I just don't think the Tennessee Titans need a wide receiver. Like, I understand they lost Corey Davis, but I don't feel like wide receiver is their biggest need. I feel like edge is much more of a need. Maybe they wanted Phillips at this pick and they just couldn't get him. But I don't think Elijah Moore fits a need too much for the Titans to reach down the board that much to grab a receiver. Greg Newsome to my Jets. it's better than a running back. That's what I'll say. A lot of mocks have the Jets taking your running back pick 23. I completely disagree with that. Greg Newsome is good. He just lacks kind of that size that you want at the cornerback position nowadays. But he's got good feet. He's got good hips. Got good hands. So he's a good corner out of Northwestern. I feel like the Jets definitely need cornerback. They've got some young guys that had decent rookie years that could be pretty good. But Greg Newsome is definitely a better pick than a lot of running backs. I'm not sure who I would go with here, judging the board. It seems kind of hard to pass up Rashad Bateman to play alongside Denzel Mims and Jamison Crowder and now Corey Davis. But Greg Newsome, a good pick. I think that it's a very good chance he ends up as a Jet, and I really like that pick. I just feel like down the board there might have been some better options at the cornerback position because they pick at the top of the second round. They could have taken a Tyson Campbell and Eric Stokes, like a lot of other corners they could have taken to pick. Pick 33? No, pick 34. I just don't understand. Actually, no. Okay, I understand it. I just not personally who I would go with in this situation. I'm just glad they didn't go with Najee Harris, who went at 24 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a good fit. Just I don't agree with taking running backs in the first round, and I've explained it way too many times to do it again. Just don't think positional value is there to take them in the first round. Jacksonville Jaguars go my top safety in the class, Trevon Moehrig. I think it's a good pick. I think he's a first round talent, but I don't think they should go with him in the first round. They could easily take him at 33. Like he's not going to go in these next 7 picks. So they could have taken a tackle. They could have taken an edge defender. They could have taken a wide receiver to play in the slot. Like I think Kadarius Toney would be a good fit here. And even for them, Rashad Bateman, like just take the best player available. I don't think Trevon Moehrig is the best player available, especially when you can get him at your next pick easily. But he's still a good player. Jamin Davis out of Kentucky goes to the Cleveland Browns. They need a linebacker. They definitely need linebacker, but I would go Zaven Collins here. Davis is good. I just think that's maybe a little bit of a reach for him. I would go Zaven Collins here if they're going to go linebacker. Terrace Marshall to the Ravens. I mean, Rashad Bateman is just absolutely sliding. I don't understand how the Ravens couldn't or wouldn't take Rashad Bateman here. He's literally exactly what they need in a wide receiver. And you can make an argument that he is one of the top 3 receivers in the class. I have him at 4, but I mean, he's definitely not worse than Elijah Moore or Terrace Marshall. Like he's got to be the pick here for the Ravens. I don't understand it. Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't think Terrace Marshall is really a first round talent. Rashad Bateman definitely is. So I don't really understand this pick. Zaven Collins goes to the New Orleans Saints. They just kind of taking best player available on defense, which I think is a good move. They just not kind of need to rebuild. Demario Davis is aging a little bit. So yeah, I like Zaven Collins as a pick to the New Orleans Saints. Rashad Bateman finally goes to the Packers. I mean, if this was an actual draft night thing that happened, a lot of people would say that probably Rashad Bateman is the pick of the draft because the Packers picking at pick 29, like, oh, are they really going to get one of the top receivers? They're definitely not getting any of the top 5, and they come out here with the 4th best. And he does play a lot like Devontae Adams, so they would be very similar in play style. Just have them 2 on the outside, and you put either Equanimeous St. Brown in the slot, or you could figure it out. Alan Lazard in the slot, like. They would finally have a respectable receiver room. And I think this is a great pick. I really think he should have gone to many teams before, though. Rashad Bateman slipping too far for my liking in Mel Kiper's mock draft. Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia goes to the Buffalo Bills. Good pick. I think if I were the Bills, I would, give AJ Epineza another year and then maybe take an edge later or in the draft or take one next year. I don't think the edge is that pressing of a need for them to take one here. Kansas City Chiefs go Jason Owe, sorry, out of Penn State. He's an athletic edge rusher. He's a good player. I don't really think he's a scheme fit though. For the Kansas City Chiefs, I think Greg Rousseau would be a much better pick here to take over for Frank Clark after he's gone. He could play on the inside next to Chris Jones and just form an absolutely mauler pass rush unit. So I like Owe as a player. Just don't think he really fits the Chiefs. Barmore goes here to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, slid down the board a little bit. I think a lot of people have the Jaguars taking him, but since they take Moehrig, the Buccaneers go with Barmore. It's a good fit. They need to replace Ndamukong Suh at some point on the inside, and putting him next to Vita Vea, allowing him to rush the passer. It's a good fit for them. Again, though, I think Rousseau would be a better pick here because he can play on that inside. Because Barmore's not going to be able to play nose tackle. So that's where Vita Vea is going to be. So I think that Rousseau would just be a better fit. And he's got way, way, way more potential than Barmore does. I feel like the last Alabama D tackle to come out, Quentin Williams, had so much potential, and Barmore has he has production and success. I just don't see the potential there. I don't think he's going to become one of those top 5 interior guys or a top 10 interior defensive lineman. So it's a good pick. I just feel like there are some better picks on the board. Moving into the second round, this is the first time he's done a 2-round mock draft. So these are some of the first picks that he's had to think about or do for some of these teams. Kadarius Toney falls out of the first round right into the Jaguars' lap. I thought that they could have taken him earlier in the draft, and they take Merrick and they get Toney here, so it's a great pick. We'll go quicker through the second round. So ETN goes to the Jets. I'm not, like I said, not a big fan of drafting a running back early. ETN's great, but I just don't think that he's that top back that's so much better than guys lower down the board like Javonte Williams, like Michael Carter, like Kenneth Gainwell, like Tracer. I just don't think he's head and shoulders above. I don't think him and Najee Harris are head and shoulders above the rest of the running back class. So taking one in the second round doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and I would not be happy with this pick as a Jets fan. Definitely, the Atlanta Falcons go Gregory Rousseau. So they pair Trey Lance and Rousseau with their first 2 picks, going into this year, 2 top 10 talents. So I think a great draft so far for the Falcons. I'd be much happier though if it was Justin Fields instead of Trey Lance. The Dolphins take Javonte Williams, who I mentioned earlier. They need running back. They take one here. They figure just end the slide, take one here, lock that in place. He'd probably pencil in as the starter there for them next year. The Eagles go Nick Bolton. Pretty good move. I feel like for them, though, they've had guys in the past that can tackle. And I feel like that's kind of what Nick Bolton is. Like you said, great. Like I said right here, great against the run. I just feel like maybe a Jabril Cox would be better for them because he's able to, play in coverage. And if I know some Eagles fans, and they always complain about their linebackers not being able to cover. So I feel like they kind of get another one right here in Nick Bolton. Cincinnati Bengals go Dyami Brown. So they go with Sewell in the first, and they go with Dyami Brown from North Carolina. It's a good pick. I do think it's a good pick. He'll be the 3rd wide receiver behind T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. So it's a good pick down here at 38. I think it's good value in a very loaded wide receiver class. This is a good pick because I think in other draft classes, people will be talking about Dyami Brown just a little bit more. Landon Dickerson, the center from Alabama, goes to the Panthers. He'd most likely play guard. I guess I'm supposing because Paradis will play center. So he'd play guard for them. But either way, it's a good pick. So the Panthers, they got Devonta Smith in the first round and Landon Dickerson. They're going to Alabama. And that's 2 very solid picks for the Panthers. Getting that offensive lineman that they didn't take in the first round, slotting Landon Dickerson in at guard. Kelvin Joseph goes to the Broncos. They need corner. Obviously, taking Micah Parsons in the first, they needed corner. It's a good pick. I don't think Kelvin Joseph would be my pick here. I feel like I mentioned, both the Georgia corners earlier, Stokes and Tyson Campbell. I'd have to think about who else is on the board, but Kelvin Joseph, I feel like, is a little bit of an overdraft. But Denver needed a corner, so they grab one. I don't know who this guy is. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I don't know who Malcolm Kuntz is and why the Lions are taking him here at pick 41. Not someone that's been mentioned really at all by draft media out of Buffalo. 14 sacks over the past 2 seasons, situational edge defender. I just don't. He said he loves his tape, so maybe he saw something that other people haven't. It just seems like an overdraft, even if Kiper loves his tape, because no one is talking about this guy, and he's going at 41. I don't really understand the pick. And if you're taking a situational edge rusher with your early second round pick, I feel like you're making a bad move. And there's no way that he's better than Ronnie Perkins out of Oklahoma, who the Giants go with at 42. Giants needed a pass rusher. They get one right here. I think Ronnie Perkins is very good, and he'll fit that 3-4 scheme. Tyson Campbell, who I mentioned before, going to the 49ers. The 49ers in the first round take Mac Jones. Second round, they take Tyson Campbell. At pick 12, a lot of people thought they'd go with a corner, and they get a very solid corner with their second round pick. So great pick by the Niners. Joe Tryon to the Cowboys. I feel like he's a little bit overrated as a prospect. I personally don't see a ton from him coming out of Washington. But taking a flyer on him with your early second round pick, not a terrible idea, because he definitely has potential. Like you said right here, 6'5", 260 pounds. That's a big dude coming off the edge. So there's definitely potential there. Hunter Long goes to the Jaguars. I understand them taking a tight end with their second round pick. I just don't think it should be Hunter Long. I think Pat Freiermuth is easily the second best tight end behind Kyle Pitts in this class, and that's probably who they should go with this pick. Amari Rogers goes to the Patriots. I don't think they need a receiver. They signed so many receivers this year. Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar. They still have N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers. I know they cut Julian Edelman, but they don't need Amari Rodgers. And so taking him with a second round pick, I think in the first two picks, you can definitely match best player available with the positions you need and still get a tremendous fit. And I just don't think Amari Rodgers is really what the Patriots need with this pick, pick 46. The Chargers go Eric Stokes. They said right here, Mike Tannenbaum put him at 22 in his mock draft. And I think that Eric Stokes is that kind of level of player. I think he's a better player than being drafted at pick 47. So the Chargers, good move here. They also needed a corner, and they get one in this draft. So I think that gives them Rashawn Slater and Eric Stokes. It's a good draft for them so far. Richie Grant, who is my safety too, goes to the Raiders. I don't know if they really need him. I feel like he plays that same role that Jonathan Abram would in that defense. So I don't really understand the pick here for the Raiders. I feel like there's a lot of other positions they could possibly go with. I know they need edge, and I'm trying to remember who they went with in the first round. They went Elijah Vera Tucker, which is the pick they needed in the first round. I just don't feel like Richie Grant is the pick they need here. But, Richie Grant, taking him off of his potential and off of his just taking BPA, I understand it. But I just don't. It's not who I would have gone with here at pick 48. Tutu Atwell goes to the Cardinals. One thing that I'm noticing here is he has some receivers in weird spots. Like, I don't think Tutu Atwell is a top 2 round talent at all. But he hasn't gone to the Cardinals. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. I think the Cardinals have a lot of receivers, and they can. He reminds him of Marquise Brown. I just don't get the pick. I don't think Tutu Atwell is that good. I don't think he's a top 50 pick in this class. But the Cardinals go with him here. I just don't think, it's not, a need for them, I would say. And Tutu Atwell, I'm not as high on him as I guess Mel Kiper is. Dolphins go Jalen Mayfield. It's a good pick. They need tackle. They have Austin Jackson and Robert Hunt, I believe. And so Jalen Mayfield is a good pick for them. This is, I believe, their second pick also in the second round, being the second team with that. Davis Mills, the Washington football team, one player I am lower on than a lot of people. Seen him play in person, seen him play at Stanford. Just not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of him as a prospect like a lot of other people are. And Washington football team, they need a quarterback. But if you're not going to take one with your first pick or trade up for one, don't take one in the second round. I just don't think Davis Mills is that good. Anthony Schwartz from Auburn goes to the Bears. A good pairing with Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson in Chicago. I think that's a good pick. Asante Samuel Jr., who was a corner whose name I was forgetting earlier. I feel like he is very close to being a first-round talent. So the Titans with a steal here after parting ways with Dory Jackson, Malcolm Butler, and Desmond King. I just feel like that's a great pick for them. Asante Samuel Jr., very underrated in this draft class, especially right here by Mel Kiper. Colts go Samuel Cosmi. Like I said, I think in the first round, they went with Jalen Phillips. I said, I wonder if they'll take a tackle in the second, and they do. They go with Samuel Cosmi in the second round. It's a great pick, in my opinion. I think Cosmi, he is a first-round talent, honestly. Like, you've seen a lot of mock drafts having him go at like pick 20, pick 22. Like, a lot of people have them taking him in the first round. So the fact they're able to land him in the second with pick 54, it's a good move. Right after that, another tackle goes Dylan Redunz out of North Dakota State. A good pick for the Steelers. I feel like they need tackle. Redunz is probably the best tackle on the board. I think Eichenberg is probably the best offensive lineman on the board, but since a lot of people see him as maybe a guard, he's sliding down the board a little bit compared to these guys. Joseph Osai of the Seahawks. It's a good pick. They don't have a first rounder, so they only have 3 picks in the draft too. So this is a good pick for them. Joseph Osai, he's kind of a BPA pick for them. They need pass rush. Hopefully he's one that works out, because recently pass rushers just have not been working out for the Seahawks at all. Ernest Jones out of South Carolina. I think the Rams could use some linebackers in that defense. So Ernest Jones, not a terrible pick out of South Carolina. Eichenberg, who I mentioned earlier, goes to the Ravens, who need offensive line, needed a guard since Marshall Yonda left. So I think he slots in right there at guard as a rookie. The Cleveland Browns signed Dwayne Eskridge, also an underrated player in this class out of Western Michigan. He's very, very good. He's kind of that do-it-all guy, as Kiper talks about right here. So they need a guy to pair with OBJ if he returns, and Jarvis Landry and Higgins. And so I think it's a good pick. Dwayne Eskridge, very underrated. I feel like you circle that name as a player who might play above his draft slot. New Orleans Saints go with Rondale Moore, who is another guy I really like in this draft. I think, like, just as a pure slot guy, it's a great pick. Like he's one of the best slot prospects you can think of, but just the fact that he can only play in the slot really, and he's very small. Like he's going to be a gadget guy that I'm excited to see what the Saints do with him if he goes here in this. But I feel like he probably should go higher than 60 in this draft class. I don't understand taking Tutu Atwell over Rondale Moore. I mean, imagine having DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk on the outside, and then putting Rondale Moore in the slot, or putting Christian Kirk and Rondale Moore in the slot if you're running a spread offense. I feel like that's way better of a pick than Tutu Atwell would have been. Benjamin St. Juste, corner from Minnesota, goes to the Buffalo Bills. He's a good pick. He'll slot in alongside Tre'Davious White, maybe even start year one. I think he's a good prospect. He is raw, so it might take him a little bit of time, but I think eventually he could end up alongside Tre'Davious White. Packers go Jackson Carman from Clemson. Good pick. Banking on potential. We thought about Javon Holland. I don't think he's a safety personally, and I got into that a little bit before. I think he's more of a corner. So the Packers could go with that, but I think Carman's a good pick. Walker Little goes to the Chiefs. They need offensive line badly. I'm surprised they honestly didn't go with one in the first round, but they go with one here. Walker Little, it's a good pick. And the final pick, Tumi Fehoko from Stanford. I don't. One name I didn't see as a biased USC fan was Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I think is easily a top 2 round talent, and he's definitely better than Tumi Fehoko. I've watched Stanford a lot. Watching the Pac-12 doesn't really blow me out of the water, and I don't think he's just the a big NFL prospect. And so there were definitely some picks in this mock that I think that Kiper's got his board, and he's drafting off his board, not the people's board. It's it makes sense, but I'm just personally not the biggest fan of this mock draft. I feel like there's guys that slid, guys that were overdrafted, a couple unnecessary trades, or a couple trades that just didn't really make sense. Like I don't get the Dolphins trading up from pick 6 to pick 4 after they traded down and then back up to pick 6. It's a lot of moving that they would have done earlier. And so like predicting they trade up again just kind of doesn't make too much sense for me. But otherwise, like there were some picks that I definitely liked. I think Rashad Bateman slid too far though. I think guys like Rondale Moore slid too far. I think Gregory Rousseau slid too far. So, he's going off his board, and I respect that. He probably knows a lot more than I do. But just going off my personal opinions and just kind of the overall how I think the draft will go, wasn't the hugest fan of Kiper's mock. Some picks I liked, some picks I didn't like. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. You can check out some other videos that we have done recently at the end, in the end screen. Also, like I mentioned before, we have the podcast and our social media in the description. If you guys haven't already, please consider hitting the subscribe button, hitting that like button, and leaving a comment letting me know what you thought of Kiper's mock draft. I'd love to get into it in the comments with you guys. Talk with every pick. I'll respond to every comment that's down there. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time.